Hey class, I'm coming to you live from Palm Desert on my Labor Day vacation, and I hope that this weekend you are having some fun and relaxing time as well. But I wanted to, as promised, take some time and walk each of you through the first paper that we are going to be doing in this class. So the first thing that I would encourage you all to do is look for the prompt, which you can go under our course home, and you can read in the syllabus how to find this as well, but I'll walk you through. So we'll go to our course home. You'll go under assessment. You'll click on assignments, and then you can click on your first paper, and you can find the information there. I've also uploaded in a secondary area under content. You can cruise into content and then click on week 3, which is our week that we are in right now. And I have given you a Word document, which makes it a bit easier sometimes for students to find or follow along. So you can always print this out as well. I'm going to go through the assignment, and I'll be mentioning some areas that you may want to focus on. I'll also be going over how I would maybe structure this assignment to make it a little bit easier on yourself, and then I will go ahead and answer some of the questions that you asked in our discussion board form. So let's get started. So this is the first paper that we're going to be doing, and ideally the entire essence of this paper is going to be explaining the relationship between communication and culture. Well, the way that we understand or we start to make sense about how communication and culture are intertwined can be very easily found, of course, in chapter 3 of your book. However, what I'd like to make note of is why, at least from my own personal experience and opinion and my interpretation and understanding of communication and culture and how they're merged together is so sorry is revealed very clearly through something we call values. Each of us have values that are inherent within us, things that take focus or priority in our life, the way that we view the world, how we value our relationships with others, how we see rules or laws being fair or true or unjust. All of those stem from the values that we have. And how did we get our values? Well, culture is one of the ways that we see and come to understand how our values have been ascribed to us and have been prescribed for us, really, by many of our families or our social units and our cultural surroundings. That being said, when individuals speak and they talk about things like friendship or family, time, even we can look at bigger concepts and how individuals talk about things like the death penalty, abortion, immigration. These can all be looked at through a lens of cultural study. We say the things that we do and we talk about those things the way that we do because of our values. And so ideally, we want to make the connection as to how the values of which we have influence our communication and in turn then influence the world around us. So it's good for us to start identifying what are some of our core values. How can we work to explain them through a, if you will, theoretical perspective, and that's what we're going to be doing in this paper. And then we can start to see how when we speak about things, or when we hear the media speak about things, or when we hear our family speak about things, the reason that they're speaking or communicating in the particular ways that they do is probably through a value system. What this allows is for us to look at the other side of an argument, the other side of an opinion, the other side of somebody else's perspective, and not hear that, okay, well, that's just solely their opinion. No, I would take the next step and say, okay, well, they are probably saying these things about this issue because they have a particular value built into them that has given light to why they're communicating as they do. For example, you know that um, for in the United States, we have a very high orientation for time, if you will. It is something that we value highly. So the way that we communicate about time can be heard in many of the phrases and sayings that we have. So like the early bird gets the worm, right? And so like getting up and taking advantage of the time. Or if you were ever late to something and you show up and somebody is disappointed and very upset about time, and you being late, it's probably because they have a very high orientation to time. It's something that they pride themselves in, that they have value to, that it means something to them, that if you showed up late, it shows that you didn't care enough or you weren't considerate enough, etc. Whereby your value orientation may be completely different with that time. You've grown up in a culture where, well, the time is loose. And when I say I'll get back to you later, well, that just means, maybe a couple days. Where in the United States, if we were to say, I'll get back to you later, that literally means, maybe 5, 10 minutes, maybe an hour. Right? So those areas can not only, one, become confusing and maybe even potentially cause conflict, or two, it's caused conflict in the past, and now we're able to identify and understand a little bit more why it did cause a conflict or why it caused some kind of rift, maybe between friends or family. So let's take a look and let's read through this area together, and then we'll go over some other elements. So that's what we really want to do, is start identifying the relationship between communication and culture. So this following worksheet, as it says, will allow you to identify your own values and then make the link between what you value and the value frameworks discussed in Chapter 3 of your text. One of the questions that was asked in your discussion board are the value frameworks that you're talking about, is this Cohen and Strobeck as well as Hofstede? Yes, that's what we are looking for. So what I encourage you to do is take a look at, I believe it's page 107 in your text. That's where the value orientations and the frameworks that are discussed and what you're going to be comparing begin. So that's Hofstede is on 107, and then Cohen and Strobeck, I believe, yes, are on page 99. So go through and you can look at those. As it says here, listed below are traditional American values. In other words, goals and attitudes that are socially approved by American culture, and things that you've learned about through communication, through the media, through your family, through reading books when you were younger, through the television shows we watched. All of these things probably are oozing with our types of American values. So these traditional American values, or in other words, the goals or attitudes, I want you to read through these below. And what I want you to start to do is take and choose 5 of them. So here's the list. And you're going to choose 5 of the items listed above. And you're going to put them in rank. And so it's important to rank these just so that you can start seeing which ones you want to focus on for your paper, which are most important to you. For each of these values, I'd encourage you to explain why you rate them highly. Now, I will never see this kind of pre-work that you have done here. I will only see your paper. But I have given you this worksheet so that you can work through and start to come up with some of the reasons as to why you rate them highly. Those reasons will help to support your paper. So take some time, look those over, see which ones are the most important to you, or even if you don't think they're the most important to you, per se, which are the ones you could even take the perspective of, like which ones do you see making the most impact in your daily life? So for example, like what are the top 5 messages that you hear most often? That may be where you would want to focus your value. But to make it easier on yourself, I always say just choose the 5 that are most important to you, rank them in descending order, and then write down some ideas as to why that is important to you. So why is it important to you? I don't know. Maybe like your work it's important within your workplace, or for you, it is important when you are building relationships, or perchance it's imperative to the existence of a social or a society that is working towards equity and humanity for all. Maybe that is why these values are so important to you. And each of you are going to have a different top five. Each of you are going to have a different reasoning. So I got a question in our discussion board that asked, is this based on our opinion? Well, this part certainly is based 100% on your opinion, which are the most important to you and why you have those values and why those are the most important. So that is your opinion. But let's move forward and then show you where I do not want your opinion coming forward. So if we scroll down a little bit more, we'll see the rest of the prompt here. Once you've completed that questionnaire and written down your 5 top areas, I'd encourage you to read the supplementary readings on D2L about each model. Again, what models are they, which was asked in the discussion board? The Cohen and Strobeck, as well as Hofstede. And if you go back into our, really quickly, where are those supplementary readings? Well, they're under our week 3, which we're in right now. If you go right back in here, further understanding of dialectics, supplementary readings for value dimensions. So you can always come in here and read some of these if you would like to. And this would hopefully help to give you some type of further understanding about these frameworks, what their purpose is, really delve into some more detail about each one. And these are the references you can use. One of the other questions that was asked is, how many references do I want? Well, I at least want you to reference your textbook. That would be ideal. And if you could, please reference at least one of the supplementary readings. There is no limit to how many references you can have, but make sure that you are referencing the text as well as at least one outside reading. Let's go back in and we can look at the paper prompt again, and let's go down to the bottom. So what we're going to do is look here. Once you've completed the questionnaire, read through those supplementary readings like I said. Once you're done with the supplementary readings, go back and look at your top 5 values. Identify those and then try to find where they fall within those models. So how does that work? Well, let's say again, I was talking about time. That was my number 1 value that I saw. I would look and I would see, does Cohen and Strobeck or does Hofstede, which one talks most about time? I'll give you a hint, it's Hofstede. So I'll go to the Hofstede area and we'll talk a bit about where that orientation fits in and how he sees it existing. And let me just see really quick where we would do that. Is it? Oh, just got a picture. Okay. Well, you can go back through there and you can look. So what I would do is I'd look for where that fits in and which model it falls into. So with each of those, you're going to go back through and you'll have to take some time to identify how they fit within that framework. So for example, if you're looking at Cohen and Strobeck, for example, and one of their orientations is, or one of their frameworks is the relationship between humans, right? And how we value individualism or how we value collectivism. So what's the relationship there? If one of the areas that you put was, let's see, play to win, this would probably fit within the relationships between humans and your value of individualism. Why? Here in the United States, we play to win. It's why most of you don't like working in groups. It's if somebody makes a mistake in a group project, Everybody points their finger at somebody else and instead of taking responsibility for themselves because they don't want to get in trouble, they don't want to lose, they don't want to get reduced points. My video is coming to an end.